Aiman, thank you so much for coming on the Malaysians on the Move podcast. I know we've been trying to make this happen for a long time. I'm so thrilled to be talking to you.
And thank you again for your flexibility and for having me on this wonderful podcast. I can't wait to talk.
Yes. So let's start with the fact that you actually moved from Malaysia when you were about 6 or 7 years old. And you moved from Malaysia to the US first. How
Yes,
about you take me back to that time and share about your move?
sure. Yes. Just a bit of background for me. So, yes, I was born in KL. I'm from Bentong, Pahang. I moved to the US, yes, first when I was around 6 or 7, to Texas in particular, just because of my family's work. I was able to hop along with my mom and dad and my sister all the way over there. And I was there until I think the end of elementary school. And then I went actually to Canada for a bit. And then I came back to Texas for high school.
Got it. Got it. Did you go to government school in Malaysia, like a Malay school?
I cannot remember the name of the school that I went to, but I believe it had some Australian backing to it. I'm not sure if it was Australian curriculum or anything. I kind of can't remember. But transitioning from Malaysia to the US, first of all, I remember it being a good challenge. There was an old recording that I played actually like a couple months ago that was found on an old cell phone. And I heard myself speak, and I had a very thick Malaysian accent, like a Malay accent, when I was speaking English. And so I remember that maybe being a language barrier between myself and I guess, the Texans people. They might not have understood me as well in the beginning, but eventually I was able to pick it up.
I know all about that accent, and I've also definitely felt my Malaysian accent is also very thick. And
Mm.
I was like, I don't think these people can understand me, so I have to actually switch a little bit. So I get that.
Hmm.
But what about making friends and all that?
Yeah, making friends. Huh? Yeah, I'll just tell you, the school that I went to in Texas, it was mostly white people,
Of course.
the Americans, right? Well, my dark skin was obviously something a little different, you know. A lot of people thought I was a Mexican or Hispanic because that's just where people know where other people are from, especially in Texas. Ah, yes, habla español. No, I do not speak Spanish per se, but I know poquito pocato. But making friends, I just remember I always like to play sports. Luckily, at that age, everyone is still pretty friendly. This was before the iPhone and all the smartphone technology distracting everyone. So everyone had to, settle down, make friends, or just play, talk to each other, and start a game of like tag or dodgeball or kickball, for example, right? So I was able to make some friends there. The teachers noticed that I was a little more, um, not intelligent, but how do I say? Class was easy for me. Class was easy for me, and so people often asked me for help regarding subjects. So I was able to, I guess, get some friends that way by just being a good, I don't know, teacher per se, or just explaining a simple concept. The school that I went to was near my home, so I was able to bike to school, actually going back and forth. And I was able to make some friends who lived in the area as well as neighborhood cans. I tended to move every 3 years, so kind of knew that every 3 years I needed to change again and have a new friend group. The next place I went to was Calgary in Canada, Alberta, and I needed to have a fresh start, make new friends all over again. I was very social friendly, and I was able to make friends in all parts of my education.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially because there's a chance that you could have felt like an outcast coming from
Mm,
Malaysia, but
mm,
it feels like you didn't actually have that problem and you assimilated very well and you did very well in school, running around, playing sports. So, like, you
mm.
kind of fit in essentially.
100%, and I think that's just an important skill for many immigrants, immigrant
Yeah,
children specifically to have, right? You have to be flexible, right? Because not everyone knows what nasi ayam is, for example, right?
right.
I remember this time in elementary school. Of course, you know how we would bring lunch from home and stuff like that. Let's say it was, I don't know, nasi lemak or something. Everyone would look at my lunch and be like, "Ooh, it smells funny," or something. They had their chicken nuggets or sandwiches
Oh,
and
so
stuff.
you did experience that.
Of course, of course. And they were like,
Oh.
"What is this food?" And like, I let them try some actually, and they're like, "Oh, this is actually kind of good." And then I would take it one step further actually, and I would eat with my hands, right? Because
Mm.
in Malaysia that is a custom, right? But here everyone's using forks and spoons or whatever. People are like, "Oh, is he like a savage? Is he like, is he uncivilized? That young boy?" Eventually, people are like, oh, "Okay, that's cool."
Interesting, interesting. So, would you say that you guys basically always ate like Malay and Malaysian food and occasionally would eat like the burgers and the American pizzas and all that?
Well, my dad was the one who was working. My mom was able to be the main person at home per se until she was able to get a job and everything. So at those times, she was able to cook up all of the food. She's just a very good chef. I think I'm very biased. All moms are pretty good at cooking.
Yeah,
My mom, she actually has a Instagram for orders for catering. She does a catering service. I am biased because she's my mom. That her food is the best food. And I think a lot of people think that as well if they're paying her for it. So,
that's lovely. That's
mhm.
lovely. So, you continue to grow up, like you go to high school in the North America area. Did you say that during those years, you would go back to Malaysia for the summers or the winter holidays or not
Mm.
really?
Yeah, so even though, I basically lived in the North America, US and Canada after the age of 7, I was still able to go back to Malaysia occasionally during some summers. Overwhelmingly, the rest of my extended family from my mom and my dad's side are still in Malaysia. I was able to go back and keep in touch with them. I had to admit, though, I did lose perhaps a lot of my Malay just because I was using English a lot more in, school and in social situations and whatnot. So I remember back then my Malay was a little off. How do you say pelik, I guess?
Yes, like awkward.
Yeah, like awkward skit. Like I know the words. I maybe it's just the intonation on how I said it or the certain circumstances that I use certain words. But I did really try to keep up my Malay as best as I could. In Texas, even the Malaysian community over there, they kind of tended to speak English per se.
Oh, so you did have a Malaysian community in Texas.
There is, yeah. So I think in specifically, I'm from the Greater Houston area, so the fourth
Yeah.
biggest city in the states. There is a Malaysian community there, and so actually growing up, I we had standard events like Hari Raya and the fast in Puasa time, Ramadan, and everything. So growing up, I still had that community, but of course, it was mixed in like on a more Malaysian American esque kind of style rather than being full on Malay.
Understood, understood. So, two questions. I know that you love badminton. So, you got to share how you got into that because, as we know, badminton is not very prevalent in the United States. It's getting better now, especially in the bigger cities where there are lots of Asians, is what I've seen. And my second question is so, after high school, what did you do?
Okay, so yes, when I was in this like Daja Satu Daju Dua, I remember playing a lot of badminton in the school and becoming quite good at it, even though I was a youngster, but a young prodigy. Maybe a young Lee Chong Wei, but Malay, I don't know, probably not.
Right.
But
Then Hafiz Hashim, you have to say Hafiz.
yes, yes, back in those times. But then I moved, and you're correct. In the US, oh, badminton is what kind of sport is badminton, right? I remember someone telling me, oh, that's the sport where you drink iced tea, you stand at the backyard, and you hit the birdie back and forth, right? Now, I'm like, you don't know the real badminton.
That's
I,
what I've said as well. It's
yeah,
always like backyard with like a plastic like shuttlecock.
yeah, yeah. And so yeah, for badminton, I took a pause from that. Instead, I back when I was in like 6 or 7 and 8, I played baseball actually, American baseball, to switch up
Nice.
the sport. So yes, I was shortstop, fun times. And then, but my badminton came back when I moved to Canada. So I went to Alberta and Calgary. And luckily for Canada, Canada is part of the Commonwealth. So badminton is a sport that is played very commonly here, especially in the schools. So I actually played for the my middle school team back in the day. I played mixed
Oh,
doubles on that one. And so I remember kicking up my badminton for 3 years back in those times. But then I moved back to Texas to do high school. So then I played American football instead. So real
oh
football.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. Houston Texans fan
What was
myself.
your role? Quarterback, running back,
Nah,
his back.
nah. That's okay.
Oh, that's not it. Oh,
No, no, no.
okay.
I mean, I'm not as cool as the quarterbacks or anything. I, I guess in my time. Oh, and alongside badminton in Canada, I played rugby as well. I was in the scrum, so I guess I had a lot of strength per se. So
Yeah.
I'm always on the line. I'm a what they call in football. It's called a lineman. So I was a defensive tackle, just the people at the front pushing people away.
Got
So
it.
yeah, so that's what I did for in high school. So then I took a break from badminton again. But then when I came to Montreal for my university studies at McGill University, I just played a lot of badminton in the recreational centers there. I played a lot with many different people around the world. I also did some intramurals at McGill as well. For now, I'm a little busier, so badminton is more just of a social sport for me. But if anyone would like to play in Montreal, please just ask me. I can hook you up for sure. That includes you, Yoshni. I'm sure you have a very nice backhand or whatever. You're very fast, much maybe faster than me.
No, definitely not fast and don't have a good backhand, but I got some other skills.
Oh, keep it for next time.
Yep, yep. So you ended up in Montreal because you chose to go there for university.
Correct. So at the time, it was actually a very interesting decision on coming to Montreal. See, I've never been to Montreal and McGill. I know I just applied just to see whether I could, pursue my studies outside of the States because, as you might be aware, going to the US is very expensive in terms
Yeah.
of if you're paying it upfront. In Canada, I was able to secure what's it called permanent residency, and so the tuition fees up here, I would pay the local fees. For one tuition year for me is about 4K per se.
Oh,
At,
oh, that's really
it
reasonable.
is very reasonable, right? It's very reasonable. If I went to the university in like Texas, for example, my home state, it would have been like, I don't know, 18K USD
Correct.
for one year.
Correct.
Or I don't know. It's just a lot of money. So I made that decision to come up here. McGill is a very good school, especially for medicine in particular, because it was the first medical school in the history of Canada, and it's also the highly ranked one, which I'm very well happy that I was able to get in there.
Yeah.
But otherwise, and Montreal is a very fascinating city because you feel like you're in Europe, but you're actually still in North America. I don't know if you speak any French. Est-ce que vous parlez français, Yashni?
No, I do not. But I was
Mm.
actually just recently in Montreal about a few months ago.
Oh.
And it was my first time in Canada, and we went to Montreal. And
Hmm.
honestly, I had the best time. Like the restaurants, the bars, it's so nice. A friend at work made a joke that Boston, because I live in Boston, Montreal is what Boston could and should have been.
I agree. Yeah, just because I've been to Boston once or twice. You have very nice old architecture, right?
Yes,
Yes, yes,
but
and
there's not many fun things going around here.
yeah, no, this city, it's one of the best cities, I think, to be a student because there's so many activities. You feel like there's a culture here. It's just, you're in a very dynamic city, like, and the public transport, oh, don't even get me started. It's super good here, right?
It's very good. Yeah,
You,
we took it when we were there. So
yeah,
you
yeah.
had to learn French because I saw all the French signs everywhere.
Correct, correct. I wasn't required to, but I wanted to have a linguistical challenge, I guess, because in I would say that Montreal is the best city to learn French outside of Europe because I was able to do this government program actually by the government of Quebec where they pay you to learn
Wow.
French. Yes, yes,
Wow.
because they're really passionate about their French language, right? I think what happened is that I was reading into it because you know what New Orleans is, right? In Louisiana, it's
Yes,
a yeah,
yes.
it's
They're
a
also a French colony.
correct, correct. They're very Cajun. It had French roots and all that. But if you go there now, French is not so like spoken per se on the street. And so I guess this province is really scared that they're gonna lose their French. So they really do incentivize French learning and French speaking here. And I was able to capitalize on that. I was able to learn French for about 4 years, and now I see patients in French at the hospital too.
Wow.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
able to like have a conversation in French.
Bien sûr, of course, and they always appreciate the fact that I also got their specific accent because
Yeah.
the Parisian French from France is not the same as the Quebecois French. Here they use their noses a little more, but they tend to appreciate.
Yeah, you must have put in a lot of effort to like really nail it down because one is learning the language, but two is like not speaking it in your own accent because then you're like not pronouncing the stuff correctly. and then they're just going to know that it's not the same.
Oh, 100%. Because when you speak like Malay, right? Like for example, let's go with Malay. You have if your main language is English, of course you're gonna sound like you'll have the English accent when you speak Malay. Like boleh saya ada satu packet nasi goreng or something like that, right?
Yes, yes.
But to really like fine tune your ear and perception, you really have to practice it with the locals here, right? Like for
Hmm.
French, I've learned it in like their classes, right? It was me like taking an extra class outside of my full term schedule, so I was able to balance that. But after that, I would just go into the city and just practice with people, go to the shops, go to the venues, and just speak with whoever wanted to have a conversation. Of course, you have to be frank and say, "Oh yes, I'm just désolé. I'm sorry. This is my first. I'm trying to improve my French." But after you say that, oh, people are like, "Okay, Saba, it's okay. We'll help you out. We'll get you these words here and there," and you pick up and appreciate the language a lot faster, I think.
Lovely, lovely. And so you're right now a medical student, and then after you're done, you hope to stay in Quebec or Montreal to continue being a doctor there?
That's a very good question. So yes, I am a medical student at McGill. In terms of practicing, I can actually practice wherever I want in Canada. I could go to
Okay.
back to Alberta, I could go to British Columbia, Ontario, Nova Scotia, or I could even go to the States actually after I'm done my studies here and work in the US. I'm not sure where to go yet, but if
Like
I
you
do
would join a US residency program?
I could do a US residency for sure. I have to write the step exams for that.
Oh
Or I
man.
could do the Canadian exams and just find a job in the US because there are some certain states, for example, I think it's New York, who are open to having Canadian graduates go and work there.
You could just be like an attending directly.
Yes, after my residency in Canada, for sure. I still need
Got
to do,
it.
there's no getting around the residency if you are in North America,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we shall see where I end up and specialize in for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. Do you have any inkling towards which specialization you might choose in your residency?
Yeah, I mean it's all up in the air for now. There's certain things I know I don't want to do. There's certain things that I do. When I first joined medical school, I came with a background of being a speech language pathologist, actually, or a speech therapist in other parts of the world. These are people who help with communication disorders. So if you have a stutter, a lisp, or
Got it.
if you're part of the neurodivergent community, you have autism, for example. You might be nonverbal, you might not communicate as effectively, and so we are trained to help with that basically, right? So for me, going into medical school is actually to become an ENT, an ear, nose, throat physician, because
Lovely.
if you might know, using your throat is a very important tool for speaking. If you didn't have the front part of your throat, which has your larynx, you would not be able to speak, right?
Hmm.
So that was the original goal, but I don't know if I have I don't know, gall to be a surgeon and everything like that, because it's a quite a taxing lifestyle, I must say. Even though
Yeah.
I'm seeing very snippets of it, but I don't know if I could do it for my whole time. My ideas have shifted a little bit to psychiatry as
Oh,
well,
lovely.
just because mental health, there's a very big demand for it nowadays, which is very good in all age ranges, the children, the young adults, the adults, and the elderly as well. The one field that I'm really interested in, I think it's a field I will most likely end up in, is actually palliative care. So this
Oh,
is end of life care. So this
right.
is where you have, terminal diseases, people who are, on their way in their final chapter of life per se, is how I like to describe it. And those are the people who are in charge of, making sure your passage is smooth and you leave with good closure in everything. And I
Yeah.
just had very good experiences in that in Canada or at McGill, and I hope to maybe do it for the rest of my life. We shall see.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all of it is just very noble, and you are like multi-talented from badminton, being able to assimilate, like picking up French with the most perfect accent. Like, I'm sure you're gonna do
Wow.
really well, no matter
Thank
what you
you.
pick.
Wow, we'll see. So come talk to me in 2 years and see where everything falls through.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess one thing that I do know because we talked offline a little bit is that
Mhm.
you actually got married to a Malay woman,
Yes, I
and
did.
I'm very intrigued how you
Mm.
guys met because you've been in the Northern American region for
Yes,
so many
yes.
years, and the odds of like meeting a Malay woman are non-zero, obviously non-zero, but I'm
Yes.
still intrigued. So would you care to share?
Of course, of course. Yeah, so with non-zero, I would say it's like single digit at best, single digit at best. But okay, to preface this one, I kind of always thought of our relationship as, have you seen the movie Crazy Rich Asians, by the way?
Yes, yes.
So
So wait, you're Henry Golding.
I'm the girl. The girl in that movie. She is Chinese, ethnically Chinese, but she was brought up in the U.S., right?
Yeah,
So
Constance Wu.
yes,
Correct.
Constance Wu. Yeah, she's the one who is like kind of not whitewashed, but westernized per se.
Yes,
And my
yes.
wife, she came from Malaysia, like Malaysia proper. So she did
Okay.
SPM, she did IB, and then we actually, so we didn't meet in Malaysia. No, we met at McGill. We met at the university per se, and we basically joined the same club together. See, it's called the Malaysian and Singaporean Students Association. She joined as the VP culinary, and automatically I knew that she could cook, right? Because VP, it is 2 plus 2 at that point. I was the first year rep, and then I became the co-president. And after that, we played badminton. Of course, I often invited her to go play badminton, show off my skills, my backhand in particular. Very proud,
Right.
very
That
cool.
that's the most difficult to master. So
Yes, we simply just got to know each other. We went out to eat with friends and everything. And it's like the old saying, you kawan sampai kawin kind of thing.
oh, that's a
Yeah,
good one. That's one for the
yeah.
books. Kawan sampai kawin. So friend to
Friend
marriage, but
to wife, yeah,
yeah, friend
betrothed.
to wife. But the Malay phrase is like so nice because it's just one alphabet. Oh my god,
Exactly.
that's awesome.
Yeah, change one word from that. Just change one word. But yeah, I'm just glad. Well, we are both Muslim, right? So we say
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, like thank God. Um, we have similar hobbies. We like to play video games, for example. We like to play sports, like badminton is our sport to just sweat it out. And we also like to eat good food. We just like to go out and have a good time. And I'm very blessed to have met someone like this in my undergrad. And we married during my master's, and then she's now with me for my next 4 years. Well, 2 years of medical school left. Yep. So I'm very happy, very blessed.
Awesome. Really happy for you. Yeah, it's like definitely a match made in heaven. I want to know though, like quickly, what are your favorite video games?
So growing up, of course, with all the moving and everything that I did, friends came and went, but video games were a good constant in my life. So I grew up playing the Nintendo. I'm sure
Yes,
you know of the Nintendo. I played this game called Legend of Zelda,
of course.
particularly when I was growing up, and so I think that is my staple favorite video game. Of course, my interest, evolved over time. When I got a PS3, I played a lot of Assassin's Creed. When I got the PS5, I guess I still play Assassin's Creed or Elden Ring per se when I have time.
Right.
But I still have the Switch, and I have all these old retro games that I like to play, like the Zelda. There's Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright. It's like a lawyer game. They shout objection sometimes. Board games, in particular, is where, well, now that I just have more time for board games, I play a lot of chess
Okay.
nowadays. So that's, and some people have argued with me, is chess really a board game? And I have to say yes, because you play on a board and it's a game, an old game. But that's the one there. We have a bunch of complex games that we got.
If you're looking to maybe buy a gift for your wife and you want to buy her a board game, there's a
Hmm.
really good two-player only board game. So it's a co-op game. So you have to work together. It's called Sky Team.
Sky Team.
And yeah, it requires a lot of thinking and like discussions and then, moving things on a board.
Mm.
So it's like actually a board game, unlike chess. I do agree with that call out. And
Fair.
I also have a video game recommendation if you want to play with your wife. It's
Sure.
also just a two-player only video game. It's called Unravel 2.
Unravel 2. This sounds very familiar. I don't think you're the first person to recommend me this game.
Yeah. It's
The
really fun. It's a platform game. You have to work together. I like those kind of games as well.
yes, of course, because it's just another thing that you can do with when you have someone special in your life, right? Yeah, the
100%.
latest game I think we tried to play together was It Takes Two.
I played
Um,
that with
yeah,
my
you played, yeah,
fiance.
Yes, of
Yes, that
course.
was hard.
Yes, yes, and we're still working through that one.
Yeah, yeah. So, Aiman, we're now reaching like almost the end of the podcast.
Oh wow,
And
already, yeah. Time
yeah,
flies.
time flies when you're having fun. And I have to end with the golden question,
Okay, hit
which
me. I'm
is,
ready.
will you ever consider moving back to Malaysia someday? And honestly, you're in a very unique position to answer this. And I'll say why. Because on one hand, you moved to the Northern American region at such a young age that one would say that, oh, Malaysia's like old news now. It's been so long since you've lived there. You've basically, lived your whole life here. But then on the other hand, you have a Malaysian wife who has a lot of roots in Malaysia, who actually moved here at an older age.
Hmm.
What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, it's a question that has come up in the past. The main concern for me is that if I were to move back to Malaysia, I feel like I'm gonna get really, really fat because there's gonna be lots of food and I'm gonna eat every single day over there. The other thing, just being on like logistical side, one of the things I had to consider is that whether I could, work in Malaysia,
Yeah.
right? Because for me, ala, my Malay, okay lah. Tapi if I use
Now
it in the
French already. Now only can speak French.
yeah, yeah, now it's French. So if I go back speaking French, they'll be like, huh? Dia cakap apa ni? What is he saying?
Yeah.
So I did some digging around there, and it turns out that even for me as to practice as like a doctor in Malaysia, for example, right? I actually need to do SPM. I need to do SPM Bahasa Melayu and SPM Sejarah History, right? Because that's also
History. History.
in the and to even like get the licensing, I think I need to do that.
Oh.
So for me, I'm like, I'd rather just stay over here, work over here, and make my start my career or have my career here. Well, for that one reason. Well, yeah, my family is kind of all here. My immediate family, at least, not unlike my wife's, who were all back in Malaysia, saying, "Come back and visit, please. We miss you." All that stuff, right? Which makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, I think I guess throughout my life I've been like a chameleon, right? Just adapting to many things.
Yeah.
And if I'm sure if I go back to Malaysia, oh, I can definitely adapt there. I have extended family there who can help and all that. But I don't know. I think the main idea for my parents was to come out of Malaysia and have us stay outside of Malaysia, I guess. Maybe because of, economic reasons or lifestyle differences. And I have to play with the hand that I got dealt in life, right? Because there could have been a timeline, for example, where I could have just been, stuck or stayed in Malaysia all my life, never knowing how life is, outside in North America.
Well
So
said.
I have a lot of privilege in knowing or in living that life, me and my sister per se. Um, but going back to Malaysia, there would be have to be some extra incentives, I guess, for me at least to go back. But of course, it's not just me anymore; it's with my wife, and as years go by, we have this talk over and over again because I'm still a Malaysian citizen, by the way.
Oh,
So
wow.
proud, yes, I still maintain those roots there, and if anything happens here, I can always go back home for sure.
That's awesome. I mean, that's the truth, and you're making the best decision given like your circumstances, and also with your career. That's kind of unfortunate with the SPM thing. I didn't actually know that like doctors would need that, especially if they didn't do SPM. But then that means you have to be good at Malay. I mean, one thing is that you learn French, arguably like way more harder than learning Malay in 4 years, and you're like fluent. And with Malay, you already have like some kind of foundation. So
Hmm.
if you ever decide to ever do it in like 25 years or something, I have faith that you'll at least get a C,
Oh
you know?
yeah, I think I can even get a D. Honestly,
Yeah. All you
I
need is to pass.
exactly. I think the main thing on why that is because I am ethnically Malay, so I think they have extra rules for that
Oh,
particular thing. For the Malays particularly, so they make sure that you keep your mother language. You're not.
right.
You don't have that. You should have that language kind of thing. I think it's a more policy driven thing for Malays in particular. But it's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, if they need me, they need me. If they don't, I'm like, I'm okay. I'll just settle down here because, as you know, the money is a little better here in a majority of the sectors here. And if I go home, I am the rich uncle that they say, "Oh, Uncle Aiman, belanja, belanja, tolong belanja." Yeah, I'm like, all right, I
That's
can
right.
do that. So for now, the incentive is to stay here. The thing that makes the most sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Iman, this was so nice talking to you. Like time just flew by.
He really did,
And
eh?
I really, really thank you for making the time because I know you're very busy.
No, no, it's my
And
pleasure. Mhm.
yeah, thank you so much, Iman.
No, thank you so much again and for working with my schedule and everything. This was a blast to be on, and I can't wait to hear it.